Hello, you're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. Because it's more fun to believe.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another experience of Me and Paranormal You. This is your buddy, Ryan Singer. I'm excited today because we got Eric from Epic Paranormal, who I briefly met just randomly a couple days ago at in Poasttown, Ohio, at the Poasttown School. Thanks for joining me today, man.
Thank you for having me. It was great meeting you the other day as well.
Yeah, it was just very fortuitous. I'm down there with my buddy Tim Irie, who I randomly met at a comedy club. He was at a show I was doing like a year and a half ago around Christmas time in Dayton, Ohio. And in my stand-up, I talk a lot about my interest and my experiences in the paranormal, and which range from, like a woman I dated who could shapeshift to like some Bigfoot, some terrifying Bigfoot encounter kind of things and ghosts and, all kinds of stuff. And so he approaches me after the show and he's like, "Are you kidding? Or are you like serious?" Which is a question comedians get a lot. And I'm like, "Oh no, man, this is real for me." And he's like, "Oh, because I do investigations, blah, blah, blah." And then boom, we become fast friends. He tells me about Poasttown when I'm telling him that I'm looking for a place to shoot an hour-long comedy special. And next thing you know, he's like, "You got to see Poasttown." And I just hadn't been able to get out there and see it until a couple of days ago. And boom, you're there getting ready to do a live solo investigation.
That's right. It was an active night for me too. It was really awesome.
And we can talk about, I want to talk about solo investigations a little bit too later. And because I know there are some pretty strong opinions on both sides of the aisle when it comes to doing solo investigations. I've only done one solo investigation really that I live streamed through Instagram. And it was it was when my last stand-up album came out in October 2018. So I went up to this place in Santa Barbara, this great little haunted hotel up there and by the beach. And it was pretty fun, but I ended up not being able to sleep there. I left probably around 4 a.m. I was like, okay, I've had enough.
Right.
So we can talk about that. But so you're based out of, are we going to talk about where you're based out of?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So you're out of Lexington, Kentucky, which I love that town. And it's a beautiful, beautiful area. So you made about a 2.5 hour drive up to Poasttown or whatever it was. And you were getting ready to do solo style. Well, you go there a lot, right?
Yeah, I go there at least once a month. So Daryl and me have been working together for almost 5 years, like 4 years at this point. And I go there at least once a month to investigate. Poasttown's unique, and it's my favorite location. It's a great place to do some serious research. It's a great place to do an investigation. It's a great place to have events too. He does a lot for the community, the local community as well. He lets the fire department and the police department train in there. And he also lets like any kind of community event that needs to happen there, Daryl lets happen there. So there's a lot of energy that comes and goes through that building, even now, even though it's not an active school anymore.
Yeah. And he does a great job of, also leaning into it. And what I mean by that is there's the doll room. A lot of the classrooms are still kind of staged and set up. So you kind of get the feel for the school is still alive in some way. While you're there. And I just briefly walked around the joint, and I got to tell you, it was really cool, really creepy. And there's some fun, and Daryl seems to have a great sense of humor too about it all.
Yeah.
Which is important to me. Cause I think most people who really love something have fun doing it. Right.
Absolutely. Yep. That's the truth. And that's why I love investigating, because it's something I would do regardless of my situation or circumstance. It's something that like I'm drawn to. It's like in the nature of my being. I want to be out there in the field investigating, testing methods for contacting the other side, and just communicating with the spirits. And Poasttown is different because Poasttown, it'll change month by month. There is some kind of doorway, or it's called a window area by like John Keel. He's the one who termed window area, where the veil is really thin and things just come and go. And Poasttown is one of those spots. So you're picking a really good place to check out for the special. And when you were there, you experienced a little something just on your walkthrough, right?
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I sit in what is it, Miss Thompson, or what's her name?
Miss Johnson. Yeah, Miss
Miss
Johnson.
Johnson. I go into Miss Johnson's room. It's one of the specific classrooms, and Tim was telling me that he sat in her chair once, and apparently Miss Johnson, from my understanding, is it's all about not. She's all about not being disrespected, right?
Well,
Is that?
there is like a teacher spirit's energy in there, but Miss Johnson herself is still alive.
Oh,
So yeah, the real Miss Johnson is still alive.
oh,
But
okay.
but in that classroom, people do get scolded by a teacher over the equipment all the time. There is some teacher in there that always tells you to sit down, that always tells you to like that class has begun. And so you probably felt that kind of energy, that teacher being like, what are you doing standing up in class? You know?
Yeah, that's funny because I sit in the teacher's chair, and I mean I felt fine going over there. It was just a normal day, and I'm sitting in that chair, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm going to shit my pants, and and I'm like, okay, this is, I come to Ohio. I grew up here, and when I visit here, I love hitting the Skyline chili and all this other kind of stuff. But like, I've been eating healthy the last, and I'm just like, this is something's happened. Like my stomach turned sour, and we're walking around, and then I'm kind of just trying to ignore it because I know there's not really a great bathroom situation at the place, if you have to kind of, do that. And then we're going through the gym, and then we go into the hallway behind the gym, and then I'm just like, there might be an emergency. That's when
Oh no.
it starts really amping up back there between the cafeteria and the gym, right? And
Interesting spot. Yeah.
and then I later hear from Daryl about like some of the experiences that have happened down there. Like we're talking like full body apparitions, we're talking noises, we're talking things you've caught on camera at this place are pretty wild too. And this is like something you invented, right? Are we gonna? Is this what are? Was
Yeah.
What's the gateway?
So yeah, we can talk. So I got a couple of different inventions. The one that's like dear to me, the one that's like my original invention is the gateway device. And it's a communication device. So it allows the spirits to talk to us in real time while also eliminating the contamination from the radio frequencies. So there's no like bleed through from radio coming through. There's no like misconstruing a radio signal as a spirit. When it comes to the gateway device, it's legit. It's a spirit talking. But the camera you're talking about, that is a camera that I built using the Microsoft Kinect V2. It was their most advanced structured light sensing camera. It actually uses a time of flight sensor. It's extremely advanced technology. The military uses time of flight sensors to do their three-dimensional mapping and tracking. And so it's an extremely advanced piece of gear. And so when you use it, it maps and tracks human figures, but it rarely does if there's nothing there. It rarely maps or tracks anything unless it's a human. It's very, very strict with its parameters on what it thinks is a person and what's not. But the night that you're referring to in Sarah's stairwell, we got a map of what looks like a child at the top of the steps, and you see the child there, and it's standing there. You can see it behind the banister. It's not mapped on any object or any one thing, and the camera is certain that it's mapping and tracking something, which is extremely freaky. That it's picking up something that we can't see, but it can. And then out of nowhere, a shadow figure or a shadow manifestation comes through, and it looks like it grabs the child and pulls it back. And so this is a shadow figure interacting with a three-dimensional map, a three-dimensional structured map on the camera. This is incredible. It's two different types of apparitions interacting with each other at Poasttown Elementary, caught on camera. It's probably my best capture, like overall. It's probably that capture right there.
It's one of those things where if you can't consider it one of your best captures overall, I'm like, well, what are you sitting on, Jimmy Hoffa's tomb? Like right? What else could you possibly have other than you have like a genie in a bottle that we can all see? Like what? I mean, it's pretty. I mean, not to hammer the point home, but it is epic. Like what you caught there. Okay, so this starts for you. I'm guessing. You grew up in Lexington.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're a little kid, and you're a little kid in Lexington, Kentucky, and you all of a sudden just decide that you're into ghosts. What happens here?
Well, here, I'm gonna adjust this camera too. My whole life, will it stay right there? Here we go. All right. My whole life, I grew up and there was always like weird things happening around me. And I just ignored it. Like from being a kid, being a teenager, even being a young adult, I just ignored it entirely because I was mainly focused on being a musician. Like from the time I was a teenager through my 20s, I was focused solely on being a musician. So I just ignored all the creepy stuff happening around me. This house specifically was probably the most haunted home that I've ever been in. It was insanely active. So every night there would be banging on the doors and windows, like loud boom, 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 like just 3 bangs on the doors and windows. There'd be loud voices saying, get out, like deep, loud, guttural voices echoing through the house. And I was living here by myself when this was happening. So, but of course, I just assumed I was going crazy. You know, I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea about ghosts or the paranormal. My mother, she actually kind of shielded me from that kind of thing because her family was into it and she thought it was like cringy. She didn't want to be a part of it. She didn't want to be associated with it. And she didn't want she didn't want to force it on me. If it were to come up naturally, she would have told me about it. And she's very supportive of all this, but she didn't want to force me to go down the same road that parts of her family went down. So I guess she was trying to be protective. But nonetheless, the reason I got into it is because I was recording a black metal band here in the basement. So I've got a little jam room set up in the basement. And black metal bands, they're all about the evil stuff. That's what they sing about. That's what the tone of their music is. Very evil. But they set up to record here. We're about to get going. And they sit me down there like, look, we can't record here. The energy is too bad. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, the energy is too bad, dude. And they taught me how to cleanse the energy. So they showed me the salt. They showed me the sage, how to do that. I did it every day for a week, salt in the corners and saging the house. And after a week, all of it stopped. All the sleep paralysis, night terrors I was having, all of the banging on the doors and windows, the loud voices, the shadows moving, like all of it stopped after doing it for a week straight. And they came back the next week. We recorded. It was fine. But yeah, that's what made me realize, holy crap, we can actually interact with these energies. They're real and they're here and we can interact with them. And so that's what led me down.
It's funny when you have a black metal group tell you, hey, we have to sage this place.
Yeah. That's how you know it's serious.
That's how you know it got real, real fast. Okay. So that happens. It's kind of like, so you have this awakening and this realization, after this, and the dominoes start falling. It sounds like we're like, oh, okay. So retroactively, a lot of these things start making sense, right?
Yeah.
That you experienced. And the skeptical side of people may say, okay, well, now we're attributing, explanation and reason to things that are from the past, with this new information where it might not apply. But then the other side of that that's what we do as people. We're always, whether it's a scientific explanation or whether it's a paranormal explanation, that's what we're doing. We're always trying to just figure things out, right?
Right.
And to me,
always utilizing new information. We're always utilizing new information.
And it's integration. It's about, to me, it's about integration and and not being rigid in our absorption and what we're willing to learn and adapt to. And I think we're headed in that direction. I tell people, like, it seems like a lot of my friends in the world of comedy, I mean, they're opening up to it now, but and they have been for a while, but it seems like, I know specifically in the worlds that I've been kind of running around in, specifically the last 2 years, there's been a real explosion of like spirituality moving away from organized religion. And even before that, it felt like UFOs, ghosts, the occult, crystals, yoga, Reiki, psychics, channels, mediums, like all roads lead to Rome, it feels like. And I feel like, whether it's the conspiracy theorists now hanging out with psychics, like they all kind of ended up in the same place, right? And the disclosure happens 2 years ago now with the U.S. government talking about UFOs.
Right.
People aren't such.
You seen the new footage that came out?
As recently as,
like, literally within the past 10 days, there's been that it was a floating pyramid that a U.S. military person took the video through a night vision binocular, and it's a floating pyramid. And I thought it was a triangle. I thought it was just the TR-3B, the normal triangle-shaped government, craft. But this was actually a pyramid structure flying in the sky, captured by a military person, and confirmed by the U.S. government to be an official video. And this is like, so what's their end goal is what I'm thinking. Why are they releasing this footage? Why are they confirming this footage? And what do they hope to get out of it? And it's a giant floating pyramid. It's ridiculous. And you can't tell like if it's massive or not, but it's clear even through the binocular. So it makes you think it's at least bigger than a house, it's got to be big. But yeah, what do you think their goal is? Why do you think they're confirming this?
Well, that's that's a tough question. And there seems to be, unfortunately, in my opinion, much like many things in life, the duality is so stark where it's one thing or the other. And there's the liminal space. Society tries to remove the liminality, right? The in between. And I think that's where a lot of the paranormal exists. Right. And so it seems to be two camps right now. One is that, aliens are all about consciousness, and that's their advanced technology. And aliens have never hurt us. And then the other side is that, the US government is going to use and is kind of faking a bunch of this stuff, or the world governments are faking a bunch of this stuff to try to control people by framing aliens as the next big threat. Right. So I wish I knew the answer to that, but I do believe that disclosure, when it started happening, practically 2 years ago now, if not longer now, the fact that it hasn't been the lead news story almost every night since blows my mind. Right.
Right.
I'd be interested to know where you stand, because I know like people who do paranormal investigations, they're open, and you're keeping your finger on the pulse of all kinds of things in paranormal. And because to me, it's outside anything that's outside the normal. So aliens, ghosts, even like I get into Freemasonry and the esoteric wisdom of the past, ancient mystery schools, all that kind of stuff. And I do think that at the end of the day, the world of the paranormal is let's just say it's a city. UFO Boulevard and Ghost Street. Those are the two main thoroughfares, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of a side street.
Right.
Not to disrespect like witchcraft and things like that, which I love, but because there's no bigger things in the universe. There's death isn't real, and we're not alone. Those two things change absolutely everything about the fabric of our society and the way we live our lives, right? And that's why, to me, paranormal investigation it's not just it's fun, and I have a really good time doing it with friends, and we laugh, and I get scared and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, is there more important work when it comes to the future of our understanding, right?
Yeah.
About who we are? And I'm not sure there is. So but it can be deadly serious, and it can be completely ridiculous at the same time, right?
Right.
I'd like to hear your opinion, because I know a lot of people, they have hesitancy to even go on an investigation because they're worried about feeling foolish, right? And feeling silly,
Right.
kind of like, because as silly as it sounds, when you first start doing it, it's not easy to just ask questions to the abyss, right? Out loud.
Right.
You know what I mean? Tell me about that a little bit in your experience.
Well, for me, it was weird because it never felt like I was talking to nothing. It always felt like something was there. And I had experiences ever since I was a child. And when I had that like awakening, that realization of what was happening, it made me realize that we've never been alone. Like there's always a spirit around you, even if it's like a guardian spirit or just an energy of the universe or whatever it is. There's always something there. But I know what you're talking about, where it feels like you could be talking to nothing. And sometimes occasionally when I go to certain locations, I'll feel nothing in the room for a while, which is a weird feeling. Because like this house, there's always spirits here from where I go so many places and come back here. And it was haunted to begin with. But like there's occasions where it feels like you're just speaking out loud to nothing. And for the average person, that has to be not unnerving, but maybe uncomfortable.
Yeah.
especially if they have no sense. Imagine if they can't feel anything at all and they're literally just like, they feel like they're talking to themselves almost. But you know the old saying, if you stare into the abyss long enough, it'll start staring back. And that's true if you start speaking into the abyss or you start like waving hello to the abyss, something is going to wave back.
Yeah, for sure. That's well put. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't even thought about that. And I think for me, one of the most magical moments, even though it's not something that can be documented on like, night vision camera or even on digital recorder or even like a laser grid or anything like that, is when you're in a space and you're feeling nothing. And then I'll never forget, like there was in San Diego, California, there's this playhouse that we went to, a group of us, and nothing was really happening. So we all decided, let's just sit here quietly in the dark and let's just kind of like be quiet and meditate on like, thinning the veil, let's remove the curtain. Right. And so we all sat there. And then after about, I don't know, it was probably 5 to 10 minutes. And for people who haven't done it, sitting in the dark silently for 10 minutes feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
For people who have never done it before. And after about 5 to 7 minutes, all of us were like, we almost started speaking at the same time, like, okay, it just got like 20 degrees colder in here, right? And everybody was like, yep. And like everybody felt it. And then boom, from then on, things start happening. So, but it was one of those things where we had to take a minute, almost like call a timeout on being active, right? Sit there and like stare into the abyss, right? And think into the abyss and experience it. So you have this experience with this black metal band. And then what do you do? Like you find other people, you find a team online. What gets you into actually going into the field? I'm guessing there's a little period of time of research before jumping into the actual field work.
Yeah, absolutely. So after that happened, I then started putting stock in like the ghost hunting shows, like the TV show. I used to never believe in them, never watched them or anything. But after I had that experience, I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. And I found out about the recorders, the spirit boxes. So the first thing I asked for, literally like a month after that experience, I got a digital recorder. And I sat in my room and I was sitting on the edge of my bed. I hit record and I was like, is there someone in here with me? I wasn't feeling anything. And then I said, do you know my name? Still not feeling anything. And then all of a sudden I started noticing there was like a change in the environment. And I said, can you say my name? And then when I asked that, my blood pressure dropped and my eyes went black. Like I went like tunnel vision. I had like, like when you stand up too fast and your vision goes black, like I had that happen while I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. And I was like, whoa, like and it took a second to come back out of it. So like that happened. I stopped the recording. I play it back. On the recorder, right after I asked, can you say my name? It's a woman's voice, clear as day, saying my full name. She goes, Eric, Sean, Connor, all 3 names. And I was like freaking out. I was like, what? Like, that was my first like solid Class A EVP capture. And so from there, of course, I got the spirit box, and then I ran the spirit box through all my guitar pedals, and one of my guitar pedals was the reverse box. And that's how I ended up building the gateway device. That was like the first prototype, is running it through my pedal board. But yeah, that EVP, that's what sent me down this current path. Like the experience with the black metal band, that's what got me into the paranormal. But then capturing that EVP sent me down this like super intense focused path into the research and into the communication.
Yeah. About how long ago was that? When that happened?
That was in 2016, probably, let's see, it was fall of 2016 when that happened. And then for Christmas that year is when I got a bunch of gear. I like around Christmas, like around November, December, my birthday's in November, Christmas in December. I got a full spectrum camera and I got a spirit box, and there was no looking back from there.
Man, when we were at Post Town, you had so much gear laid out. I was just like salivating. I got a backpack, all my gear in my trunk, but I don't have, this gateway, I want to like play around with this gateway. I want to get on that gateway. And then then the camera, the mapping device, I don't have one of those either, but it would be so much fun to be, doing research with one of those.
Well, yeah,
It
and
looks
I
like a
also I do a lot
fun
of
time.
live stream investigations. So when you're live streaming, you have to be utilizing your equipment right then and there and listening to the results right then and there. It's not like the old school way where you record and then go back and review. When it's live, you got to be seeing the evidence or hearing the evidence in real time. So my entire arsenal is built around producing results as quickly as possible. And that's why I use the Gateway. That's why I use the SLS camera, the Connect V2, and it works really well. And part of the reason I use that Connect V2 is because it weeds out all the false positives. So with the original Connect and with the digital dowsing, the name brand SLS, they're both extremely sensitive to any anomalous like map. So if you point it at a wall, it'll start trying to map a stick figure, just because the wall's flat. If you point it at a chair, it'll try to map in the chair. And it's just there's too many false positives with those. That's why I use the newer, heavier, beefier V2 Connect, because it weeds out a lot of those false positives. But I tell you what, man, carrying that thing around all night, it weighs a ton. And the battery pack I have to use for it, and the tablet is one of the old like Windows tablets. It weighs a whole lot, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it.
You need a paranormal Sherpa, like a Sherpa, those the guides who help people carry stuff up Mount Everest.
Yes, that would be amazing. So, hey, what I do at Post Town, they have those like wheelchair things. I put the SLS on that and wheel it around. So it's like super smooth. I don't have to hold it, and it just looks good. So that's one thing about Post Town. There's one of those on every floor. So if you wanted to, you could use it for yourself, but I use it for the gear.
Oh, wow. That's a really good idea. So obviously, I guess it kind of makes sense to me now that we're here in the backstory a little bit, where you're getting your first, you're talking about this Class A EVP recording of your full name, just you alone sitting on your bed with a digital recorder. So, I guess it's a logical jump for you to continue just investigating, kind of by yourself at that point, because it kind of starts that way. Have you ventured into like the group dynamic? Are there other people that are part of Epic?
Yeah, so I do have a team, but we rarely get to investigate together because they work they have their normal jobs, and I'm doing this full time. So it's been me solo for a long time, but I have investigated with numerous people, and there are two teammates that I have. Their names are MC, which I'm going to show a clip later with her in it, and then my buddy Nick, who he's investigated Post Town a lot, probably as much as I have, and he also used to do tours there, and so Nick's very familiar with Post Town as well. But I've investigated with them a lot. I've filmed a lot with them, but I've also done a lot of solo stuff just because there was no one else to be there with me because I'm doing it so much. I'm on the road all the time investigating. But also my girlfriend, Laura, she investigates with me every now and then. And it's always good. So I know you brought it up earlier, but to anyone listening, it is much more ideal to have at least one person with you. Even if you want to do the like solo investigations, like it may be like one person's in the building, one person's outside or something, that's fine as long as you have someone with you. But I've done so many reckless things by myself where I'm investigating an abandoned insane asylum with no other structures or people for 40 miles. That's dangerous. If something happens either spiritually or physically, like that, it's extremely dangerous. But I would always suggest people have someone to investigate with, or try and have someone to be with you, even if they're not investigating, just someone to be there, around the premises. But as you get older and as you get more experience in the paranormal, it's easier to like handle it. It's easier to handle being alone. But I was investigating these places solo just 1 to 2 years after getting into it, and I was losing my mind at these locations.
I could only imagine. It's like, no way. I'm not hanging out in Post Town by myself right now. Like, I'm a grown ass man, as they say. And, see, the thing about me is like, I have a hard time even watching scary movies, right? Alone. And ever since I was a child, I was terrified by nightmares and things like that. But the thing about investigating that shocked me was I was very willing to go into a space alone, even investigating with other people. And everybody's like, I'm not so sure I want to go into that room. I was like, I'll go. Nice. And I could go into that room. And and I don't know why. It's not because I'm like brave or whatever, but it was just I can't watch Hereditary, the movie, by myself, but I can go into this room right in real life alone. But there is something about having other people there that is, that I do think is great. And I can appreciate the solo experience for pushing one's personal boundaries.
Yeah.
And then also seeing like, okay, because I'm fascinated by the idea that, the simple act of observation alters the behavior of things, as said by science,
Yeah.
right? So the more layers of observation you are throwing onto a situation, potentially the more altered it becomes.
And I feel like
So,
that's accurate because I really feel like when I'm by myself, it stays active for longer. So when I'm with people, we can get the same amount of activity, but it feels like it dies down faster. But when you're by yourself, there's something about it where it's like stays active the whole time. And maybe it's the fear. Maybe it's the fear inside of oneself when you're solo that keeps the activity going, that keeps the energy going. But I've definitely been scared out of my mind at some of these places, like it's even at Post Town, because Post Town is a changing thing. It's not Post Town's not like just 2 or 3 spirits. It is a dynamic range of energy that's constantly morphing and changing throughout that building. And there's reasons for it. Post Town is set up more uniquely than a lot of locations. It has the river flowing in front of it. It has the railroad tracks behind it. So you got water in front, iron bars across the entire back of the train tracks, and then it's built on a foundation of limestone, which is said to aid in spirit manifestation. And the top part of it, where that like bell is on the top of it, the whole inside of that is solid copper. It's literally lined with copper, which is one of the most conductive metals for spirit communication and spirit activity. So the whole thing is set up like a vortex. It's set up like a portal, and it just happens to be that way. But I think all of that aids into the activity and into the paranormal occurrences there, plus the history. There's so much history, not only in the school, but on the land too. There's a lot of tragic history on that land and in the school. So it's a great place. I love it. I absolutely love investigating there.
yeah, the energetic footprint there's no doubt about it. It's vast, very deep. It's a really cool spot, and you can kind of I think more and more people are coming into touch with their abilities as empaths, and they're trusting their intuition in general.
Yeah.
And especially in this last year in the pandemic, people had to tunnel inward,
Yep.
with quarantine happening everywhere across the world. And I think that's kind of supercharged the collective volume of empathy and intuition. And with that comes like some loose wiring, right? So lots of people are feeling way too fucking much. And we see the reactions of that, acting out in ways that seem extreme and things. But
Right.
I'm curious about, I know we wanted to maybe like hit on a couple clips here for people,
Yeah.
like specifically the ones that focus on audio, and patrons might be able to see the video. But to me, there's always, a couple pieces of evidence that are the signposts, right? And one of the most fascinating things for me is when I'm talking to someone and there's a piece of evidence or something that happens that, yeah, you're kind of looking for this kind of stuff, but then it has an effect on you that you weren't anticipating, right? That maybe it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go get this fill in the blank. And then you end up getting that fill in the blank, whatever it is. And now it sends you on a totally different journey, something you didn't anticipate when you were first looking for it. Was there any kind of unexpected turn in the way you thought about this whole thing, and like spirits and ghosts and things that happened because of something you were actively seeking out but didn't anticipate the consequences?
Well, I think the entire range of communication, when it gets deeper and deeper, you start feeling the negative effects from it. So the Native Americans had a term for people who spent too long with spirits, and because it would make them ill, they called it spirit sickness. And so if you engage with spirits too often, you will get sick from it, because spirits exist in a way that is completely different from us. We have a physical body encapsulating whatever soul energy we have inside of us. Their energy is external. Their energy is pure, what we might call electromagnetic. But when our two energies meet, it rubs off on them and on us in a way that could be seen as negative, or a way that can make you sick. And so after investigating and doing communication sessions like here from home for so long, I started feeling those negative effects. I started feeling the immense spiritual drain, which leads to like physical sickness and like illness. So there is, with great evidence, you have this counterbalance of what are the consequences, what are the repercussions of going this far, going this hard into reaching the spirits. And so you gotta, when I first started, I was obsessed. Like I still am, but I'm much more controlled now, much more on top of it. But when I first started, I would go as long as I could, you know, and still stay awake. I'd do as many sessions as I could, as many live streams, as many investigations. And it got to the point where I was investigating the location solo over and over again. And I did like 4 or 5 locations in a row by myself, including the Monroe House, which is a notoriously evil home. Some people call it the most evil haunt in America. And I was doing those locations totally by myself. And I had like a breakdown. I had like an anxiety attack on the way to Ashmore Estates to go hunt with the Ghost Brothers. On the way there, I have a freaking like meltdown. And I don't know why. It's not like any specific reason. I think it was just from being at so many locations solo for so long. But then I pulled over on the side of the road, calmed down, and then went and did the investigation with them. And then I took like 2 weeks off after that, and I felt much better. And you have to get away from it. So like I've noticed this with a lot of people who first start, like any of my friends who get into it, they become obsessed too. It's like something is pulling you in. Like when you're really hooked on it, something is pulling you into the abyss, further into the paranormal. And you got to be careful not to get too far into it. There's one specific, so the way you asked it to me is, was I seeking something, found it, and it changed? What happened? Yes. So I used to be in contact with these spirits named Frank and Maxine, and they would come through any device I put on the table, whether it be an app, a spirit box, EVP recorder. They could mess with candles. They could make candles flicker on and off. It was ridiculous. And I thought, you know, that was normal. I thought like every once in a while you'll come across these spirits that can do this. And it wasn't normal. It was totally out of the ordinary. Even in the paranormal, it was out of the ordinary. But I started trusting them. And so I was doing a session in the house, in the living room, and all of a sudden over the equipment, it says, Nick needs help. And I'm like, who's Nick? And they said, Nick's in the driveway. And so they kept telling me, Nick needs help. Please help Nick. And I was thinking that this was like Frank or Maxine, you know, some spirits I trusted. Lucy. So I don't know if it's coming through over there, but I've got 2 wiener dogs.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. All right. So I was, she's in the hallway barking. That's really weird. So I've got, Lola has seen something before that messed her up. And I can talk about that later. But anyway, okay. So I was trusting the spirits. They were saying a spirit needs help, and a spirit's in the driveway. And I would pray for spirits, and I would offer them light. I'd tell them to call on God. You know, I'd try to help the spirits get out of the place they're in. So they're telling me that a spirit needs help and that a spirit's outside. She just opened the door. And so I believed them. And so after the session, I was going over it in my head over and over again. I was like, should I open my door and invite the spirit in? Which is a big no-no. It's a huge no-no. But I was like, well, this spirit's out there and they need help. What if it was like me? You know what I mean? I kept trying to like rationalize it. And eventually I gave in, and I opened my back door and I said, yo, if you're out here, you know, you can come in. And I said his name though. I said it much more like direct than that. I said it, and I don't even want to say what I said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as soon as I said it, I said what I said. I said that they could come in, and I'm standing in the doorway, and for a couple seconds, nothing's happening. And I'm like, okay, maybe it was just random communication, you know, and then all of a sudden I hear, we have a ramp for the dogs. And so I hear something step on coming up the ramp, and there's nothing there. I hear these steps coming up the ramp. There's nothing there. And a gust of wind blows in, and like, there's a little sign by my back door. It flips up, like my hair's blowing. I used to have long hair. It's blowing, like something gusted in. And here's the thing. Here's something that I didn't know until after a while. Nick is a nickname for Old Nick, and Old Nick is a nickname for the devil. And so I essentially invited something dark, something demonic, something that goes by Nick into my home. Like it was the biggest no-no you could think of. And I did that thinking that I was going to help a spirit. And so ever since that moment, like I dealt with a super strong attachment. All my sessions became focused on Nick, and Nick would pretend to be a spirit for about 3 or 4 minutes. And then he would be like, it's Nick. Like he would, it ruined all the communication. And he would follow me to locations. So every time I'd go to a location, I'd be capturing things like, there's a demon behind you. It'd be the other spirits at these locations saying that there's a demon here. And it'd freak the spirits out at the locations I was going to. And at the Benton farmhouse, for instance, Nick came through a bunch there, and Nick uses a lot of cuss words. He would always use like cuss words and slurs, like racial slurs, homophobic slurs, like really nasty things, and coming over the equipment crystal clear. So it sounds really bad. It sounds like awful when you're communicating with, when you're trying to communicate with spirits, and then Nick's coming through. And the spirits would always say they hate Nick. Like, we hate Nick. They would make it very abundantly clear that they hate him. So it took forever to get rid of him. So I couldn't just get rid of him with salt or sage or anything like that. I had to do the lesser banishing ritual, or I can't think of what it's called. It's something like that. It's like an old, it's like something from the Cabal, I think. And I had to memorize. I did it once without it being memorized, and it didn't work. I did that with the salt, the sage, the prayers, these crazy strong prayers I found that usually work, but I had to do it again with it memorized and all that stuff. And I was able to get them out of the house. But now in all my sessions and all the things, it says Nick's outside, like, and it says, go outside. I'm outside, come outside. It always wants me to go outside, because I think that entity is out there waiting. It wants to get back in. But so I wanted to find a spirit that could talk clearly to me and use the equipment. And I ended up inviting in something that could have been demonic, and that ruined all my sessions. It had a profound effect on me, where I was like losing my mind, with this communication. I was believing, every word, I was hanging on every word. Nick just twisted me. He twisted me. And that's what they do. They want you to be twisted. So it took a while to get rid of him. And ever since then, I've been kind of, maybe not jaded, but I've been a little bit more careful in trusting anything that comes through.
That makes sense. And, it's the whole monkey paw. It's like the monkey paw, it's like, you be very careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Cause you might get it. And it's just impossible to be hyper specific enough to get exactly what you want, and so there's always a trade-off. And I was talking with a friend earlier this afternoon, and we were talking about like the quid pro quo aspect of, we were specifically talking about fairy and interaction with fae and other things.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous, interacting with the fae.
Yeah. And so it's like, what are these unspoken contracts sometimes that we're signing, maybe, I guess, so to speak, maybe without realizing it, right? And when you start like really venturing off into deeper areas of all this stuff,
right?
Maybe a little haphazardly, and without, I guess, offering it the proper respect, just for the power. Because for me, it's always been like this: like, hey, if I believe that ghosts are real, and I believe that they can affect the physical universe, and the spirits, entities, energy, or whatever can alter the physical universe, then I am going to be operating under the assumption that my physical body is part of the physical universe.
Right.
And therefore they could also alter or affect my body, which is just another object in the physical plane. So I've always kind of had that kind of respect, like, hey, I'm not going to like talk a bunch of shit. Right.
Yeah.
Or necessarily try to provoke in that way. But I know some people, to each their own. They love, if the provoke, it's just like anything else on Twitter. Like, if you talk shit to somebody on Twitter, they're more likely to respond to you than if you say, I love, than if you're a fan.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go to, I know we want to keep this at about an hour. I have a feeling we have to just we'll have to revisit the conversation, and do another one soon. And, but like, when it comes to Post Town specifically, you've got some clips that I think we can go to, but it doesn't have to be Post Town. But
most of them are Post Town.
Most of them are okay.
I've been to Post Town more than any other location. A lot of my best research and best evidence is from there. It's just an incredible spot.
Okay, well, let's give them something. Let's give the people listening just a little taste of, maybe something that's occurred over at Post Town School.
Absolutely. Well, I have a handful of things here. Let me see. There's one session. This one's really good, and this was with my friend Pam, and she used to investigate with me back when I first started investigating Post Town. And this was one of my first gateway builds where it's actually called the gateway. This is not a prototype. This is like build one. And this session's really good. And I'll like, because the people listening won't be able to see the captions, but they'll probably be able to understand what's being said. But here, let me pull this one up. And then I have another clip. It's like 4 minutes long, but it's like mostly Post Town, but some other spots too. And I'd like to just play that whole thing if that's cool too.
Yeah, of course.
All right, but we'll start with this session first. Let me get the screen share going, volume up.
And to be clear, Post Town is run by Daryl and his wife, right?
Yeah.
Daryl. It's just a guy.
Daryl and Brenda Wisman. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, and they just they've been living there for a while, if I'm not mistaken, and they run the whole joint, and it's a really interesting, amazing setup.
Yeah, Post Town is incredible, and Daryl's amazing. Daryl's one of the main reasons I keep going back. Like, I'm good friends with Daryl, and he's actually investigated with me a few times. And one of the times he investigated with me was on his birthday, this last birthday he had. And it was absolutely phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. Am I sharing the whole screen or just the window?
Let's just do the window. Yeah, it looks like the whole.
Yeah, here, let me redo that right quick. There we go. Here we go. There, is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, and then all of this is on my channel, Epic Paranormal TV. But here, we'll start here, and then I'll say out loud, like, what's going on, if it needs additional narration.
Did someone fall down the stairs last week?
Pam, she fell down the stairs last week.
You
The
fell.
spirit says you fell.
Oh my God.
Did you go?
So for those watching, right there, it says, "It was a spirit. I watched you fall." And so I'll play that back one more time. So not only does the spirit know that she fell, it says, "It was a spirit. I watched you fall." And that just sounds evil. But here, I'll play it again.
Did you push me?
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's like, I watched you. I mean, like, for the people who just heard that, like, that's exactly what I heard. I watched you.
Yeah.
Oh. Like, that comes through, and this is through the gateway. So this is kind of, let's just give people a quick reminder about like the device itself. It's kind of doing, maybe like, think of the spirit box, but getting rid of all the extra stuff, right?
Yeah, so it eliminates the radio contamination by using a full reverse circuit. So before it hits the speaker, everything's reversed. And this means if we hear any clear forward words, we know it's a spirit trying to come through. And right there, it's crystal clear.
Yeah. And so when you say reverse, it's just like, think like back in the 80s, the craze of like, if you play Ozzy Osbourne's record backwards, it says it's all about devil worship, so it's like, it's actually playing it backwards.
Yeah.
Wow. And that came through so clear backwards.
Yep. And so that's one of the most amazing ones. That's like, I think that's the best part of that one. Now check this out. There's one more response here that's pretty crazy. So here, we'll keep it going just a second here.
Don't do it again.
Is there someone pushing people here? Yes. Oh. On the stairs. Oh my God.
So just to reiterate there, is there someone pushing here? That yes, so there's a yes, and then he says fell down the steps. And in real time, I heard on the stairs, but on playback you can hear fell down the steps. So want to run it back one more?
Yes.
Don't do it again.
Is there someone pushing people here? Yes. Oh. On the stairs. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
pretty crazy.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, especially when you take into like, I love what you've done here with the gateway, because like you said, it really eliminates, you can eliminate a lot of things. Like when people who don't know about the, paranormal, like, oh, so I just take the spirit box and I ask it questions, and it's like, yeah, but you want to ask it specific questions that aren't yes and no answers, because almost anything can sound like yeah or no or yes or no. So you want to ask, like my friend Karen Rontowski, she's like one of the best things she's ever gotten out of a spirit box is like, can you tell me my last name? And then like Rontowski comes through. Like that's not amazing. A normal thing, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is very specific to what we're discussing in the moment about getting pushed down the stairs. And it says fell down the steps twice. And it's, I mean, it's so hyper specific.
Right.
To the moment.
It's what we look for. It's direct responses back to back to back, which is extremely hard to get. Mm-hmm. And so that spirit was in the room with us. That's how this was happening. The spirit wasn't communicating from far away. The spirit wasn't like transmitting the message. That spirit, I believe, was in the room with us, utilizing the device as if it were a telephone and just like talking back and forth with us. Wow. And that's what, it's hard to find that. It's really hard to get back and forth communication. And I was spoiled when I first started. I had some spirits that could use anything, and we were getting back and forth all the time. But that's why I like Post Town, is because there's the opportunity for this. Post Town's amazing.
That's some really good stuff.
Now I have another clip here. The very first one is from the Rhodes Hotel, and this is the girl in the shot is named MC, like the letter, like MC Hammer. And she's part of my team. We investigate sometimes. This was probably our like second or third investigation together. And so this was a while ago. But I asked the spirits, I basically asked, are there rules on the other side? And they were talking to us about rules. And then in this clip, I asked, can you give us information we don't already have? Or are you not allowed to do that? Or something like that. And then the spirit responds with the word correct. But it's so crystal clear. Check this out. And then I think I'll just let this whole thing play, and then we'll just pause through different parts and talk about it. But okay. These will be pretty good.
You all from your world cannot give us any information that we don't already have. Is that correct? Correct. Oh my God.
I'm getting chills.
And so what she's holding there is literally a mini suitcase that has that's a gateway prototype. It has my pedal board in there with a little amp. And I forgot about that. So it's not even put together. It's literally just like a suitcase with all the stuff in it. But yeah, so I say, is that correct? And they use that word. The man says correct, and there's nothing else around it. There's no other voices coming through, no other audio or noise, just correct coming through loud and clear.
And the one thing too, I want to point out before we keep moving is anyone who's, and people listening, I'm guessing a lot of people listening to this right now have been out, doing investigations. And it's like when you're in that moment and you get that response, there's no way to not react.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's impossible to not react in the moment because of how exciting it is, that communication, because communication has happened with the other side or with it's like, it is impossible. It's like when you go to the doctor and they hit you in the knee with a hammer and your leg kicks out, it's an involuntary reflex that is, you can try to hold in that sneeze, but baby, you're going to hurt yourself if you do. You know what I mean? Okay,
exactly.
Let's keep going.
Oh, you're going to see a lot of reactions. So especially when I was younger, I went over because I was so amazed with the communication with the other, because it's bigger than people think. And we lose sight of that sometimes from doing it so much. But all right, here we go.
That was amazing.
Thank you so much.
So Sarah, if I find you, you just got to say, found me. Sarah. Whoa, we just got a flash. Was that you? Did we find you? You got to say found me if that was you.
Isn't that crazy? So I asked, we were playing hide and seek. And so you can hear her say Sarah in there too. But
I heard the Sarah right away.
And so all that audio is coming through the gateway device. So again, we're eliminating contamination using the full reverse circuit, and she's coming through loud and clear. And that's the thing, Sarah at Post Town, she will come through loud and clear if she wants to. If she's having fun, if she's hanging out, she can come through and talk loud and clear. But she doesn't do it all the time. It's only if she's like interested or she wants to. But here, we'll play it again.
Thank you so much.
So Sarah, if I find you, you just got to say, "Found me." Sarah. Whoa, we just got a flash. Was that you? Did we find you? You got to say, "Found me," if that was you. Oh! So this next EVP, what's crazy is I didn't realize this till just now. This next EVP you're about to hear, it says "come back," but it's in the same exact spot that this last evidence was just captured. These are two different investigations that happened here. This is Nick and me, but in the last one was Nick and me too. But like, this is the same exact spot. It's Miss Johnson's room. This is the room that we just captured all that. So here's the next one. Come back. You're right. Dude, that says "come back." This is Eric from Epic. Here, I'll play. I talked over the beginning of that one. Oh! Come back. You're right. Dude, that says "come back." This is Eric from Epic. I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. That one just jumped. So that was pretty interesting because on the SLS, when they're not supposed to move like that, so it only detects movement if it thinks something is actually moving. Yeah. And this one, so for those listening, we're looking at SLS capture here. There's two different stick figures mapped in, which is extremely awesome. And then the one on the left.
By the way, if a human being was standing in the middle of these two, the human being would be mapped out identically to these.
Yeah, they're human height. And then the one on the left, for whatever reason, jumps up way into the air, like impossibly.
Whoa,
that one just jumped. Did you see it? Like
they have feet.
Isn't that crazy? So that's part of why I like that the camera I use too. Is it's hyper detailed. It's very specific. Oh my goodness, dude! So before we go, I have to show you one of my best SLS captures where a spirit gives me the peace sign on command. The peace sign. It's absolutely phenomenal. But remind me about that after we get done with this. Whoa, that one just jumped.
Almost like that little Sarah.
Oh, it says "oh my God," or is that us? That has to be us. Oh my God, it says "oh my God." Yeah, I think it's you.
Oh my God, we're burning.
Oh my God.
You didn't say "oh my God"? No. So I don't know if Daryl told you about the train crash. There was a train crash that happened there, and 39 people lost their lives. And I think the residual energy captures of the "help me" and "help us" and the "oh my God, we're burning up," I think that's residual energy captures from that train wreck, because they pulled the people out of the wreckage onto the land that Post Town sits on now. So I think that's part of it. And this was the first time we ever used that recorder, by the way. That's an old Optimus recorder. And I thought it was Nick talking. It's so clear on there. I thought Nick was talking. So we go back and review the footage. I'll just play the rest of it here. Guys, are you hearing that? That's gotta be you. Holy crap, we just reviewed that right now. He never said "oh my God" or anything about burning up. What the heck?
Does anything in here belong to you?
Whoa! So that recorder, I was blown away by it. That was the first time I ever took it to a location, and we just got EVP after EVP in that spot. And what's weird is that was a bathroom off the side hall of like where you go to the principal's hallway. Just a random spot we decided to stop, and we got crazy EVP evidence. Now this one's pretty.
Yeah, some of the bathrooms and some of the small, like really bricked up rooms where there's absolutely no chance for light to come in.
Yeah,
ooh, those rooms at that place, man. Wow, yeah.
There's a few of them. The dry goods room, by where your stomach was getting real upset. That one's real freaky.
The dry goods room was, and there was a bunch of chairs and half a circle set up in there. I was like, yeah, I know why those chairs are here.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Nick, again, something. Nick. Which Nick are you talking about? And then it laughed. Oh my God. So I think that's the Nick referring that I talked about earlier, because Nick still comes through. Like you can tell it's at a distance. You can tell it's not like on me like it used to be, but Nick still comes through every now and then like that. And I think that's the Nick it was talking about.
When
It's
it said
again,
praise Nick.
yeah, I think it's a nickname for the devil. It's saying like praise Satan, praise the devil. And then that laugh, that creepy laugh.
Yeah.
There's a little girl voice.
So I think that's Sarah's voice saying grandpa right there. And so if you listen closely, I think you can hear it. It's like she's going, grandpa.
Voice.
Yeah.
And that's EVP. That's over an old Olympus recorder, like the Olympus, like it's like the ones everyone used back in the day.
Yeah.
Just basic recorder. But yeah.
Whoa!
So that was another stick figure jumping up in the air.
Oh, I had a map and then a flash.
Oh, look at
And then briefly a shadow coming across the camera.
look at that.
I saw
so
you. You were
creepy
by the
because-
door, weren't you?
And people who are on the Patreon, and I hate to do this to the people who aren't patrons, but I mean, I guess, them's the breaks. But the in this shot here in like the doll room, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
there's the miniature little children, little rocking chairs. There's 3 mapped figures. One of them is like an adult, and then 2 of them are tiny, like children.
Yep. And then that one jumps up all super big and scary.
Whoa!
It's so freaky. And then look at this mist right here we captured. So we had a map, and then out of nowhere, this mist shoots across the
Oh, I had a
camera.
map and then a flash.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Whoa! Oh, I had a map and then a flash.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
I saw you. You were by the door, weren't you?
This sounds like a great remix.
Yup.
I had a map and then a flash. Whoa! I had a map and then a flash.
I did try to put some rhythm into it, make it flow. You know what I mean? We could sample it, really make it into something. But yeah, and so here, and at this point, Nick is saying he heard Sarah's voice, and that's something you'll hear her out loud. And I heard her this last time. I heard her talk out loud, and whenever you hear her voice, you know it. It's clear as day. A little girl's voice will echo through the hall, and it's unreal. It's unreal when you hear her voice. And so I don't know. It's just amazing. Like right here is where one time where he heard it.
That's
Like in a little girl's voice. It sounded like she said, "Hi."
Now check it out. So when Nick and me first investigated together, we captured this, and this is pretty cool. This is where we heard her out loud, and the live stream audio captured it. All right, here we go.
I swear I hear lit in there.
something lit.
I'm telling you, straight up.
Something just touched you?
It felt like something like was playing with.
Whoa!
I heard
shit.
it. I just heard it. I heard
Right?
it. You didn't
Was
have to
playing-
tell me.
Was
You hear it?
playing with.
Yeah, I hear it.
That is what it's her voice. It's that little voice.
It felt like something like was playing with.
Whoa! Shit. Hello.
Was playing.
I'm all chilled up over here.
Was playing with.
And that what's crazy is like we got to capture that, which is amazing. But half the time it's even clearer. Half the time you hear her go like, hello, or I'm here, or just like out loud. But this one, that was the first time I ever captured her voice. Now check out the shadow on his shirt. So this will be just for your Patreons, I guess. But you can see a shadow of what looks like a little girl's hair bouncing like through the room. Like it's crazy.
Was playing with.
Oh yeah.
Now it could
That
easily be like me moving, or like maybe Pam, or just, it could be something explainable. But it's interesting that it looks like hair, bouncing hair, right when we capture her voice. So is it paranormal? I don't know, but it happened at the same exact time as the capture. Now check this out. There's another piece of evidence that goes with this.
Like a kid.
That was a kid
little
voice.
girl. Straight up little girl.
Oh man, look at the chills.
Hello?
That was after I felt like I got touched.
Check this out.
Hey, it's Eric from Epic. That was the first time I heard you that clearly. Can you tell us, what's your name? What do you go by?
You hear that bang in there?
Yeah.
That was over by where we heard heard her talk, heard her voice. Now, so that's a nice piece of evidence, like a playful piece of evidence. We can hear Sarah. Everything's calm. None of us feel threatened or anything like that. But this next piece of evidence is from Revenant Acres, a place that they have since leveled, thankfully. But this is Revenant Acres had numerous possessions take place and documented possessions. The first one was on audio. It never released. It was never released. And then the second one was on video. And the guy who got possessed on the second one, he was saying all the same exact things that the first person did when they were possessed. And both people collapsed to the ground afterwards. The possession footage is absolutely terrifying, and it's on YouTube. So they were recording a night vision investigation, and this one guy just gets possessed and starts saying all this crazy stuff, and he says his name is Seven. And anyways, we're there, and I'll just play the clip. It leads up to something pretty startling. And back then, by the way, we investigated with the red lights. It's me and my buddy Alex Bob from Spectral Wolfpack, and we were testing the red light theory, investigating with red lights. So here we go. All right, there's some words on the screen.
Why would there be evil here? It's 7. Did you hear that? I'm getting chills along my back, dude. Oh, man. Can you tell us if there's something evil here? Like, truly evil.
It's 7.
7.
What?
Oh, my God. I'm trying to think. I'm giving Alex a piece of information here that I think is very relevant and very...
This is what I just remembered, that 7 was the name of the entity that possessed people. We had forgotten about it entirely until this moment.
Terrifying, actually.
I'm freaked out.
This would be a
stomach
terrifying
feels
revelation.
weird. It feels like something's like squeezing my stomach or something.
Guys, I just saw something in
Let's go
here.
in this room.
I heard demon right there when you walked in.
Yeah, clear as day, it says demon. So I saw something in this room. And so Alex is like, let's walk in there. Let's go get it. And so as soon as we cross the threshold, the Hack Shack says
Let's go in
demon.
this room.
I heard demon right there when you walked in. Holy crap, guys. So this has gotten really, really intense real quick.
7, are you in here?
I literally... Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
What? It's a demon again. What'd you see?
I just saw a robe, a tall figure in a robe, dude.
Eric just saw a tall figure in a robe.
No,
Those are
thank
creepy
you.
shit that like you have nightmares about.
It's
That was that creepy shit right there. Full robe, looked like a cloth, like a...
Check this
No,
out. Right there.
No.
There it is.
Cloth,
What?
like,
No.
You see it? You see
Yes,
it jumping
that's
down?
why I'm saying no. I am not interested in having that dude in the room with me.
That was Revenant Acre. So for everyone listening, I turn around as I'm explaining to Alex. I keep panning around because I'm freaked out. And there's a liquidy shadow mass that comes down from the ceiling. It like jumps down onto the floor, and you could see it moving. It's super creepy. And
Yeah.
this was captured on the live stream. And we're using the red lights. That's where everything is red. But that was right after. Right after seeing that. And so that's one of the things that changed me. So here, I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that changed me, was seeing that hooded figure, because I don't know if I was meant to see it. Part of me thinks that it wasn't trying to show itself to me, that we just happened to see each other, but it was there in the room with us. And it was tall. It was like 7 feet plus tall, big robe. The robes were like big, and they were cloth. I could tell they were cloth robes, and they were black, but inside the robes, like inside the hood and the hands of the robes, it was blacker than black. It was the deepest, darkest things I'd ever seen inside of the robes. And it messed me up. It was one of the points where like, you think you would get like less scared investigating. This made it to where I was more scared investigating solo, because I knew that something like that could happen. I knew something like that could manifest, and I could see it in the room with me. And we didn't know we captured that shadow till like a year plus later. It was a long time later till we actually saw the shadow move down in the footage like that. And so it was, that was one of those experiences that changed me as well, because I became a lot more cautious, a lot more timid when investigating solo, because I knew that stuff is out there and it could manifest that way.
Yeah. And I mean, and then what else can it do?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with the history of possessions at the place. I mean, that's like when I'm like, okay, thank you very much and good night.
That's the cue to leave right there.
Yeah. So Eric, this has been a ton of fun. We're going to have to do this again. It'd be fun to do, and I'm sure you probably, do you ever do like live stream reviews of some of the evidence you got, like you
Oh,
live
yeah.
streaming, and you're gonna have to hit me up and let me know next time you're doing that, so I can let my listeners know if they want to tune in the next time you're doing like live stream reviews of compilations of evidence that you've got, because I think people would love to, almost like a clip show, would love to be there and comment and chime in and be able to follow along for that.
Absolutely.
That'd be really cool. That'd be really cool.
I can say the next time I'll be live streaming, I'm live streaming tomorrow, but I don't know if this podcast will be out by then. But
no, this will be up next week probably. So like a week and a half from the time we're actually recording. So around the what is that? The 20. I don't even know what today's date is.
It's the 14th today, and
so it'll be out around the 23rd of April.
Well, on the 22nd, I'm going to be at Bobby Mackey's. So this might be out the day after. And Bobby Mackey's is one of the most, dark haunts, one of the most evil haunts. And this will be my first time investigating Bobby Mackey's. But then after that, I'm going to be on location live streaming on Sunday the 25th and Monday the 26th. So just a couple days from when this is airing, I'll be live streaming on location on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to be at Waverly Hills on one of those dates, and then Whispers Estate on another. So if anyone wants to tune in and see that, that's going to be my next things. And then Thursdays are usually my review days. So whenever I live stream on Thursdays, which would be like the 29th after this, I usually review evidence then.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, good to know. And it's, let me just bring this up real quick. While
Are you trying to give me the peace sign? Hey, you gave me the peace sign. Did you see that?
_paranormal_.
Look at that.
TV.
Let's get this.
Yep. So you can give Eric Sean Connor. You can give him a follow there, and check it out. And the YouTube channel obviously is Epic Paranormal TV.
Yep.
And yeah, tons and tons and tons of clips over there. So lots of video and evidence to dive through.
Are you trying to give me the
YouTube channel? Well, I'm glad
can I
this
play
worked
one more?
out.
Can I play one more clip?
Oh yeah, let's send
clip
them off
before we
with
get-
something. Yeah.
All right, this one's insane. This one's freaking insane. And like, there's a visual part and an audio part, but I can explain, what's going on.
Oh, and I was supposed to remind you
right
of
here,
something
okay.
before we left. Was this it?
Oh yeah, what was it?
I totally forget.
Oh my God.
Maybe we'll remember it later. But
It was a piece of. Oh yeah. It was okay. Let me show you two more things before we go. Okay. Two awesome things. So this is a. Let me show you the thing we're talking about before, because that one's pretty crazy. Basically, a spirit gave me the peace sign.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I want to show you that clip just so that way you have seen it. Here we go. So here, I'm just gonna play the highlight clip because it's just real quick. All right, let me share the screen back. This is crazy, dude. This is probably in my top 5 as well, just because it's impossible. Oh yeah, let me do the other share. Hold on.
Our desktops look almost identical. I thought you were sharing my screen. Like it was.
Got stuff all over the place. That's how you do it, though. That's how you get it done. All right, here we go. Check this out.
Oh, I saw.
Time to play with
my
it.
God, that's so
Oh, and the
cool.
rim pod
So
went
I
on.
didn't even have
Holy
finger tracking
I'm
turned on. So for those listening, I'm investigating my basement, which has been one of the most active spots that I've ever investigated. And there's a spirit mapped in, and I say, "Are you trying to give me the peace sign?" It raises its arm up and then puts 2 fingers up with like a peace sign, just exactly a peace sign. I'll play it one more time here.
It was like it's like a pink stick figure.
Yep.
It's standing on a speaker.
Yep.
That does this.
Like a little bass amp.
Boom.
There it is.
I saw it immediately. That's it. That's
And
really amazing.
And this whole video is just breaking down that entire interaction and what led to it, because he clearly just puts the peace sign up. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then I'm Nick. Nick still comes through all the time, wanting back into the house. Yeah, a bunch of weird stuff came through this session. It was crazy, but that's by far
Time to
one
play
of my
with it.
best captures. And
Oh,
then of
and the
course
rim
the
pod went
capture
on.
that we showed
Holy
you at post.
I'm freaking out right now.
Crazy. And then
All
here's
right,
the one we'll send off on is where's it at? This one right here. All right, so I have a REM pod set up. In a REM pod, reacts to electromagnetic energy. It's a proximity alarm, basically. And so if something with electromagnetic energy gets close to it, it'll alarm, it'll make a noise. It's kind of like, imagine it like a theremin almost. And spirits are able to use this. And so on this capture here, you hear a little kid come through and he says, time to play with it. And then the REM pod goes off. No joke. Here we go. Is that not crazy?
Oh, for the people seeing this, thing just starts lighting up, immediately after you hear time to play with it. That is, and that's, I mean, this is what I call a double banger, because I love layered evidence.
Yeah.
Anytime that you can have, because people can, skeptics can, it's easy to dismiss one piece of evidence.
Yep.
But when you have layers upon layers, all validating the same thing happening or something strange happening at the same time, that's what I really love.
Yeah. And that came through the gateway too. That time to play with it came through the gateway device, which adds another layer to it as well. It's not just like a regular spirit box or anything. Want to play it one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be freaking out too. That's amazing.
So that was one of my best sessions ever. So that whole video is like, I tried to condense it down as much as I could. It was like a 2-hour video. I got it down to 17 minutes, and that's like as much as I could condense it down. But it was just nonstop communication that night. I don't know like if the stars were aligned right or what it was, but it was just nonstop direct back and forth communication. And that video, that's on the page as well on the YouTube. But that was one of the best nights.
Wow, you got to check it out. I mean, and if you're not a patron, just go over to the YouTube, and watch the 200 plus hours of footage over there. You'll find it. Oh man, this has been really cool. Eric, thanks for joining me today. We're going to do this again.
Yeah,
man, we got to do an investigation together too. That would be rad
down.
sometime.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be totally fun. And God, and I'm one of these days I'm just going to have to buy, because you like customize equipment, right?
Yeah. Yep. There's only a few people in the world that have gateway devices though. I'm very, very peculiar about who gets them.
But you do all kinds of devices, not just gateway, right?
The gateway is the one that like is original to me, but like the SLS cameras as well. And then like I have a bunch of different recorders that I've like modified or like tweaked in certain ways. I'm always trying to figure out what's the next best way for the spirits to reach us. Yeah. So I'm always working on stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah, man. Wow. That's really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. Yeah. So Epic Paranormal TV on YouTube, Epic_Paranormal_TV on Instagram. Give a follow, give a click, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And, check out the live streams. This has been great, buddy. And look forward to doing it again soon. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah, my pleasure.